And welcome back.
How are people doing today?
Okay, so we've
How
got
you doing, Facticin? How you doing?
good.
That's good. That's always good.
Yep, got a lot of schoolwork to do this week, but that's what you get for being in the game program.
Yeah.
Everything takes super long. And yes, for those people who think they can become one, don't have stars in your eyes. If you're only going for I like playing video games, you gonna fail. I'm not joking. That's seriously what happens. Okay, so what happened was we are missing a lot of emails. I don't know why. Maybe a venture company laid off the servers that run the game or something and send emails. But I went online, got the emails. They're here. We're going to read through a few because there's some background stuff and something important in it eventually. I may have to do this more, but this is up to the point we're at that we missed. Hi, I came across your emails on the SKL agency's database. Don't ask me how. I also managed to get hold of the high definition Super 8 film from their site. You can download it from my site and check it out. And then you've got his name and Gary with the E, with that emphasis on the E or something. Gary or I don't know. From the ones you see, email Julie. Ours is Katie. I'm not sure if this one's just the UK version because the US version and the UK version have some aesthetic differences. So I'm not sure. Hi Gary, I've just loaded your analyzer. It's unbelievable. Talk about a computer whiz kid. Either that or you're the Phoenix himself. To be honest, I think I prefer the first possibility. If you're looking for a job, then no problem, as my uncle could do with someone like you in his company. The analyzer let me get to the end of the alphabet screen. Thanks again. I think the three of us will make one hell of a team. Cheers, Julie. Don't worry about the job. Having said that, if you invited me to Paris for the weekend, I'd definitely be up for it. The wheel of the zodiac that appears when you successfully complete a test shows that the Phoenix is into astrology. However, the strange names of the different modules, Tetema, Sophie, Eustichos, etc., don't mean a thing to me. I'll have to look at my books on esotericism. Catch you later, Julie. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a German newspaper article in the Eustichos screen that I've tried to translate. Not all of it is legible. Aside from learning that Volker was born in Solingen, there are a few more details on his disappearance. Has Professor Volker been kidnapped? There is growing concern in academia where there is still no news of the researcher. He was invited to Rhodes 2 weeks ago to give a conference and has still not shown any signs of life. According to sources close to the investigation, the professor was alleged to have been seen for the last time on the Rhodes Siamese shuttle boat in the company of three men speaking Italian. He would never have gone and left documents of great historical value in his bag, which was found at the hotel. Professor Volker was born in Solingen in 1930. He has built his reputation by specializing in an ancient Egyptian language, which is still spoken today by Egyptian Christians. Maybe it wasn't in Rhodes by pure coincidence. Maybe this cursed book has got something to do with the Templars who had settled on Rhodes. I'll see if I can unearth something. Okay. I found an old magic book containing the names that might match those on the CD-ROM. Sothis, Sothir, Sith, Ophisith, they're names of Greek deacons, which confirms what I was thinking. The Phoenix makes reference to astrology. As there are 3 deacons for each sign of the zodiac, a deacon represents the space traveled by the sun in 10 days. The program should therefore contain 36 modules. 3 deacons times 12 signs equals 36. The first 9 modules seem to involve water. It's quite likely that the CD-ROM is structured around the 4 elements present in the tradition: air, earth, water, and fire. Hi, I found some interesting info on Sol Invictus. I'm obviously not talking about the rappers and the other rock groups that have pinched the name. Here's a summary of what I found. The Roman solar cult, the Greeks refer to it as Helios, originates from the Mithra cult, which came from Persia and incarnated the god of sun, the earth, and the dead, and broke into the Roman Empire in the 2nd century AD. In the 3rd century, Mithraism came in for competition from the fast-spreading Christianity in the army and the public services. It was officially introduced into Rome upon Aurelian's wish to reunite the religious conscience around a solar cult, the Sol Invictus, or the Invincible Sun. Mithra was then compared to the sun and imposed as a monotheistic religion which was taken over for political purposes. Its principle was based on the link between the idea of the sun, the master of the world, and the concept of the invincible emperor, representing and incarnating the star on earth. Aurelian looked to use the religious concept as a moral base for establishing his power. He turned the solar religion into a state cult and made the sun the supreme god of the empire. Sol Dominus Imperii Romani. He proclaimed himself the representative and emanation of the solar divinity. He was god on earth, Deus, master by birthright, Dominus Natus, he to whom the eagle, the bird of the solar god, brought the light. Aurelian built a temple in Rome dedicated to the sun at the foot of Quirinal, along the Via Flaminia, replaced it in the 8th century by the S. Silverstro and Capite Church. The emperor was represented with a radiate crown, the solar symbol. Coins bore the name of the emperor, followed by Deus and Dominus Natus, god and born master. Besides the reference to the solar cult that the old bookseller spoke about, some of the elements are a bit disturbing, such as connection with Helios, Rhodes, the eagle, Phoenix. Okay, one of my mates has just come across the police report on Helena Whitford's murder on the internet. Here's a few extracts. We transported the body to the mortuary in Oxford, where we met by the coroner, Dr. Matthews, to whom we explained the circumstances surrounding the discovery of the body and the natural set of elements in our possession. The body was laid face up in the autopsy room. A label attached to the ankle bore the following indications: Miss Helena Whitford, NOK 04708, 1.6 meters, 52 kilograms. The doctor proceeded to perform the autopsy at 10:20 a.m. and provided us with his conclusions as follows. Cause of death, asphyxia by strangulation. Several lacerations to the base of the neck. Traces of burning after death to the forehead in the form of a symbol marked with a branding iron. Evidence of a struggle. Contusions to the right shoulder and knees. Evidence of self-defense. Broken fingernails. Blood, vitreous humor, urine, visceral, inarticulate nails, and hair, anal, oral, and vaginal samples were taken for examination purposes and kept in the mortuary for analysis. One last point which might be of interest: the girl was a virgin. I'll spare you the details. There's an amazing piece in the other document. Traces of seawater were found on the victim's hands and virtuous humor. Strange indeed. I'll trust you to make sure that the contents of this message remain confidential. Have you read Helena Whitford's diary? The girl was unbelievable. Talk about the irony of fate. It seems like she'd fallen in love with her killer. Between you and me, it looks as though he turns on the charm to attract some of his victims. I'm sure he uses the internet to choose his victims. We'll have to be careful. Julie. Ciao, my friend Gary. He speak to me and give me your email address. Because I have a house in Milano, he asked me to do some searches on Lorski case, and homicides happen in Italy since a few months. It is incredible, this serial killer business. My grandmother, she has in her cellar many papers. Her house is not far from mine. I see if I can find something. Halfway there. In the film shot in London, the policeman refers to a feminine symbol drawn on the victim's forehead. I tend to think that it's the symbol of Venus, which would be more logical given the Phoenix's astrological references. Strangely enough, I've gone back over a passage on the Sol Invictus, which takes on the new meaning in light of the murder in Oxford. Joining the sect was achieved by following a complicated esoteric hierarchy. The initiation comprised seven phases, corresponding to the number of hierarchical levels, each one of which was associated with a planet. This organization was based on a series of rites of passage represented by symbolic ordeals: Raven equal Mercury, Bride equal Venus, Lion equal Jupiter, Soldier equal Mars, Persian equal Moon, Messengers of Helios equal Saturn, Father equal Sun. Each dignitary is characterized by masks and insignia. Ravens served drinks, the bride wore the bridal veil, the soldiers were attributed with two-edged swords and beggars' pouches, the lions burnt the incense, receives the lions burning the incense which consumes ourselves. They wore the coat of purple and cleansed the mists by fire, and they brought the gifts to Mithra's table. During their consecration, honey was poured into their palms as a sign of incorruptibility, and they were obviously branded by a heart iron. The Persians held a scythe and sometimes ears of wheat. The Helidromes, the messengers of the sun, were dressed in purple and often suffused with the rays of sunshine. The Pater, father of the ceremonies, presided over the meal and carried the ring and the crosier. Venus wearing a bridal veil, branding with a hot iron, the association with the planets. This could lead us to think that there will be 7 murders associated with the 7 planets. We'll see. Either way, these coincidences give me the creeps. Ciao, my grandmother, she's genius. I found an article that talks of the case, homicide in Genova. Here's an article that I tried to translate. Excuse for the mistakes. Horrible homicide in Geneva. A Dominical priest was found dead in church cellars. The police investigate in extremist circles. Maccabi discovery yesterday in cellars of Church Santa Maria di Castello in Genova. Electrician that was called for an electricity break in the convent next to the church. He finds himself face to face with body of a man holding two-edged sword in hand after he go down in cellar. After first shock passed, as his attacker no move, he thought he was a model that someone armed to make bad joke. He looked around and realized it was Domenico priest tied with some cord to the back of Pria Dua. He quickly called police. Investigation showed it was brother Francesco, who held function of librarian in convent. He had throat cut and sword was inserted in his hand. A strange burning in form of magic sign was found on body. Also found near body was Latin writing, preferably written with blood of victim's Sol Invictus. None there know the cause of this horrible setup. The librarian was a discreet man in high regard by all people that know him. None could want him hurt, exclaimed a parishioner that helped to decorate Abbey in the Christmas period. This is the crime of a madman. It seemed also the police privileged this assumption without nailing off possibility of a ritual homicide perpetrated by a satanic sect. This priest was contacted by a lady director of school for young girls subject to crisis of collective hysteria. She asked him to calm girls by sprinkling them with holy water. The priest was no exorcist and did not think able to affront evil forces, but he promised to speak about it with his superior. A presto. I've sent an email to Felice Magoli to ask him for the first name of his deceased son whilst explaining all about the Phoenix CD-ROM. He's bound to think I'm right nutcase, but you never know. Otherwise, I found in the archives of Italian papers on the net some old article about the case, but it doesn't say anything about the first name. Another way of getting an answer is by hacking into the cemetery site, but it looks like it's a cemetery site, but it looks like it's well protected. There's no way of getting it in it at the moment. P.S. The article translated by automatic translator. A man was murdered last night, his body thrown on the pavement of Benedetto Croce. The body was discovered at 6:15 a.m. by the occupants of House 18. Bus driver Massimo Polisi, 25, was on his way to the bus station to start his shift when he stumbled across the stranger's body. He called the police on his mobile phone and waited for the emergency services to arrive. The police were quickly on the scene and cordoned out the area to preserve any evidence that might be there. According to the rare witnesses that we managed to question, the victim was shot in head. Burn marks under the form of a circle were noticed on the victim's palm and forehead. The police were initially under the impression that it had been a gangland killing, but the least that can be said is that the police are bewildered by the initial elements which do not match the usual practices in the Camorra. Initially suspected of the crime, Massimo Polisi was held by the police for several hours until he was cleared by the statement given by a woman with whom he had spent the night and whose identity he had not initially wished to reveal. I wonder why. Having noticed the engravings that appear with each murder, I seem to think that the killer is following some sort of logical pattern, but which one? I can't get my head around it. Apollo doesn't tie in with my previous theory. What about if all this was the work of some group, like a sect? Maybe we ought to look into Manus Domini, the hand of the master. I didn't sleep very well last night, so I think I'll go and get my head down for a bit. Take care, Julie. In fact, I forgot to tell you how I managed to get past the security on the cemetery site. By typing Felice Magoli, I saw his name on some yacht club site. If you type his name in the log and the name of his boat as the password, you can get in no prop. Child's play. Okay. Whew. I'm going to get dry-throated from all this talking. Okay. Last set. SKL Network information request. Following the request from several people, we have officially contacted the Massoni Cemetery. We have been promised a swift response despite Felice Magoli currently being in China. And David Marcus, hello. Since my last message, several new elements have been brought to my attention, allowing us to better understand who we are up against. He is sending a message. Unlike a criminal who tries to cover all of his tracks and disappear into the woodwork by keeping a low profile, the Phoenix has made it loud and clear that he bears a message. Decrypting and interpreting this key and mystery appears to be the only way to diffuse his fury. We need to grant the Phoenix the understanding he is seeking, at least from a tactical point of view. A parallel can be drawn between the inscription Sol Invictus discovered in Oxford and the contents of the ancient book The Code of Helios and the planetary symbols to which the Phoenix draws our attention on a CD-ROM. There is a logical sequence to his actions. Links and meanings are hidden behind the repetitions resemblances. Figuring out these links is the only way of discovering what his motives are. The white Chasuble, the references to the sun and cruelty are elements that express strong subconscious preoccupation with the themes of guilt, punishment, and redemption. We are not dealing with a serial killer who suddenly acts on sexual impulse. The Phoenix acts on recurring compulsions which he broods over for long periods of time in the form of morbid speculations. The murders are committed according to his own set of rules and procedures, under pressure from a meticulous internal obligations as if he were copying a predefined pattern. Which one? A star whose enemies have not triumphed? He is probably prone to intrusive thoughts, a nightmare that keeps coming back, the fantasy of a mission which alone could help him overcome a profound feeling of guilt. He kills in cold blood. The mental universe he forces us to explore, with all its esoteric and mythological connotations, seems devoid of any real humanity. People are cruelly eliminated without the slightest apparent emotion, and probably without any remorse. He appears fascinated only by the ancient representations of symbols that speak to him. He writes with his victim's blood. Who will